So we have another executive missile, big country-crushing chauffeured
Executive
car,
missile?
which makes me think I have to do this. Hello, sir. Where to today?
Anywhere but home. Let's go vacationing.
Very good, sir. We got to do that split thing because this is you've got more legroom than I do, and I'm driving.
Yeah, this is great. I really like it back here. I've decided that this car is actually some really amazing, expensive, awesome furniture in a lounge that's wrapped into shape with a Mercedes badge on it.
Sure.
It's all about the seats and the screen. Of course, the experience, the aerodynamics, the power, the looks, the comfort. And this car, as it is, it's the S-Class S580, $130,000, and it's kind of the stripper. Again, with the one that doesn't have the executive package and the chauffeur package,
True.
and the rear seat multimedia package, or the e-active body control, and it's still $130,000.
True, but I also think you can drive this Mercedes, this S-Class. It's not the base S-Class. It's still the one with the big engine.
That's true. It's got the big engine.
And I don't think, in spite of all the stuff you're talking about that it doesn't have, which is true, I don't think you drive this and, oh, this needs stuff.
You know, this is missing.
This feels amazing, and you can't believe the stuff that's in here, and it proves why the S-Class has been the benchmark of the category forever, in spite of the fact, you're right, it could still be more.
Great cars, great roads, and all the reasons we love to drive.
TV, web, and podcast. This is Everyday Driver. Well, you know that contest about 30 years ago between Lexus and Mercedes?
Yes.
When Lexus looked at Mercedes and thought, we can do that too. And recently we drove the LS500. I remember sitting back here and kind of whining. And the Lexus didn't have the rear seat entertainment. It didn't have all the functions that it could have.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is so far better in every category. When you compare big sedans, it's not even funny. It's not even close. From power to amenities to how you feel back here, there's no contest anymore. Mercedes is so far out front, they have brought the wood so much, and they're proving why they invented the car, and the S-Class has been around for 50 years.
Yes.
This car is why you buy Mercedes. It's spectacular. Well, this is emerald green with a sienna brown interior. Love the color combination. And since we're stopped at a light, I'd like to take this opportunity to tell you about the gangster pinstripe interior that looks like it was pulled right out of the 1920s.
It does.
It should have a Tommy gun in the trunk as like an optional feature.
It might, yeah.
And it works. Look how luxurious and timeless and interesting and classy this looks. People dress up as the 20s gangster, you know, and they go to parties and that kind of thing. You
the
think,
whole swing dance thing. Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah.
And here it is on the S-Class. There's a lot of visual interest, but if you notice, you look around the cabin, and every shape in here is relatable. From the center screen, Todd, to your driver's stack that doesn't have a hood on it over the instrument panel anymore, to the rectangular shapes and the double rectangular shapes for the vents on each side, everything is a clean, clear, relatable, familiar shape.
True.
And this is the future.
But the driving is the part of this that actually has genuinely surprised me, because you don't actually buy these first and foremost for the driving. When I think about
Certainly not.
these kind of cars, it's a lot about how are you doing back there. Now,
I'm doing great, thank you. Doing great.
Thank you, sir. So glad, sir.
It's really great back here.
We'll be there shortly. Yes.
I wish I had the chauffeur package.
Well, but
back
you're
here.
still not doing bad without that.
No, I'm not. No.
But this is nearly 500 horsepower, 518 pound-feet of torque.
Yeah.
9 speeds.
Yeah.
And most of the time it does that Rolls-Royce thing where it's enough power and you glide along and it's not bothering you with the power, and it doesn't want to make an announcement to how powerful it is most of the time.
Sure.
But if you have a reason to be up here and you can dynamic mode, everything is haptic, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I know that's where we are.
It's light haptic.
You get into Sport, or God forbid, Sport Plus, the bolsters get more aggressive, and then you put your foot to the floor, and it will jump sometimes as many as 3 gears to get you up to the upper level of this bi-turbo 4-liter.
Yes.
And then it is gone.
Yes.
And it growls like all the AMG products.
Yeah.
Now, you don't hear that
And
at all.
it's not.
If you typically drive an AMG product, that grumble is kind of always there. This car, it's never there until you ask for it. And then it's like it finds its voice and tons of power. And in a little bit of time I've been driving this, I've been shocked to say this. I have hit multiple daily triples without genuinely trying.
All of me wants you to just floor it right now.
The difference between 75 and 100 is being in the pedal for about a second.
Yeah.
And the normal move you would do to do a pass around somebody, I guarantee you that's triple digits. That little move you would do to be like, I should pass you triple digits without even trying. Which brings up this point. This is the home of the Autobahn. This is the king of the Autobahn.
Yes, it
you
is.
buy this to be your executive cross Germany cruiser, and it is limited to 130 miles an hour, and that really surprises me.
In the U.S., I'm guessing this is because it's a U.S. model.
Maybe.
Because in Germany,
Yeah, maybe.
130, you're going to get your lunch eaten.
You can go really quickly around corners. It never stops feeling big, but it never feels unwieldy. It's very controlled, and it's very easy to drive quickly, and it wants to go fast.
Yeah, it just
These are
wants to
not
go
things
fast.
that I feel like are required for this car, and yet it does all of that in addition to all the luxury stuff you're bringing up.
And speaking of all those luxury things, let's talk about these two seats. And by that, I mean the front seats right here, okay? Now, these seats, not only are they heavy, because they have so many electronics and fans and motors in them. If you get the Burmester 4D surround sound system, which this car has, you get 6 in the seats. You get 6 fan motors. You get the air bladders, the heating and cooling, rear seat airbags, which are embedded in the backs of the front seats. And they're pretty slim looking. You also have those bolsters when you go around corners. They're the dynamic side bolsters, so they grab you according to the opposite corner you're doing. So when you're turning left, the right one supports you, and vice versa. All that is packed into the seats, and they look good. They're excellent,
Yes.
beautifully comfortable.
Incredibly comfortable.
And they have 10 different massage programs.
These
All
are
in the seats, in the two front seats, and they look normal. They
These
just look
are-
like luxurious seats.
I agree. These are possibly the most comfortable seats I've ever been in a car, as far as driver
Absolutely.
seats. And then you're right, especially when you consider the fact that we're talking about burying an airbag in there in the midst of everything else.
There's air bladders,
It
there's
should be
vents.
about that wide, and it's half of that. I love interacting with everything from the steering wheel back.
Okay.
But from the steering wheel forward, I have a real problem with this at 130 grand.
Do you not like the 3D?
There are
instrument panel?
lots of pros and cons in here. It becomes a serious mixed bag. We have railed on every manufacturer on the planet for when they take something that looks like an iPad and stick it into the dash.
We have.
This is somewhat incorporated. I might almost
It's not stuck
let
in the
this
dash, it's
slide.
floating above it.
Yeah, I'll almost let this slide. But this looks like it was designed to not have a steering wheel. It was designed like a boat interior.
Yeah.
And then they went, we got to have a steering wheel. We got to have a gauge cluster. This is tacked on. No different than any other iPad tacked on right
Fair
here.
enough.
This is tacked on. The
Fair enough.
last Mercedes, actually, they incorporated they didn't have a hood, but they incorporated the dash shape to kind of hide the fact that this was a screen, and it looked great. This is tacked onto the top. Now, it is, on the plus side, it is 3D while being 2D. I'm confused as to how it works. It's not layers. We were in a car recently where it was layers, and I was fascinated by the fact that actually screens were different layers. This is one layer screen, but it has a 3D depth to it. That is, it's weird. The longer you look at it, the more you're just kind of sucked into it. Like, I just want to watch the screen.
It's hard to see it on camera, I noticed.
It's
but
impossible
in
to see on
person,
camera.
It's brilliant.
There's a lot of depth. The screen itself, the information is wonderful. The screen feels tacked on, and behind it is an enormous binnacle, an opening for you to have your head-up display. The problem is, from the driver's seat, it looks like I'm looking over the edge of a trash can. There's just like a trash can behind there, and I'm peering over the edge of a trash can. If this had a hood, you could hide that. But I'm looking at an iPad with a trash can behind it, and at 130 grand, that design's not working for me. All of this piano black, the car comes with a rag. You would think we were hanging out in the middle of the desert, the amount of dust this has collected in a 5-minute drive. You have to get the rag out and fix it. If I really was a chauffeur, I would be obsessing. Where did the rag go? I'd be
it's back
obsessing
here.
all the time about, I can't let the client see that. And then it's all haptic, which I don't like haptic. Mercedes makes great buttons. They still do. Thank you.
I cannot be bothered to dust the instrument panel.
I know you can't, but it's just, it's everywhere. And I say that. Then in the same breath saying, as far as comfort, as a driver and as a passenger, this is one of the best places I've ever been.
It really is, and it should be. And I have called
should
out
be.
screens for looking stuck on. And you're right, it does appear that way, but I do like the hoodless design.
Sure.
And the screen behind that for the heads-up display needs to be that big because it's now 12.3 inches wide.
I'm aware.
To also put up your augmented reality display over the top of your heads-up display.
Yeah.
Well, have you noticed the LED lighting is so much brighter
Yes.
that you can see it at all times, day or night. It's brilliant, and it changes depending on, you can change it yourself, but it changes depending on the driver's mode as well.
Green for money. There you go. It's now
There
green
we
for
go.
money. That's where we're at.
The piano black is broken up by the lines, the tuxedo lines,
yeah.
but I guarantee you that it's more yacht thinking.
There's a ton
than
of yacht
the
thinking.
gangster 1920s pinstripes.
Mercedes-
even though that's what it looks like to me.
I agree with you. It does look like that. It does look like the 20s flair. But I agree with you. We've talked about this before, and actually on some products, Mercedes actually says yacht interior. They literally check the yacht box.
It's
Mercedes is
definitely
so
yacht-inspired.
inspired by yachts right
Yeah.
now. And that's not a bad place to be. That's very luxurious, but it definitely has that feel. 130 grand. Feels about right.
Okay.
I mean, how often do we drive a car at over $100,000 and go, yeah, but this is really expensive? I kept driving this going, can't afford it, but worth every penny.
It's only happened on the Mercedes products, AMG and otherwise.
That's fair.
Think about it. Every time we've been
Yeah.
in a car, or just a Mercedes alone, we think, it's expensive, but wow.
very
Okay,
nice.
so before I drive, I have this thought to leave you with.
Okay.
Cars like this are built at such a high standard and high quality, from material choices to the amount of wiring. That's why it's so heavy. It's 5,200 pounds.
Yes.
It's all the wiring in the seats.
It's everything going on in this car, for sure.
But here's the thought. In 25, 30, 35, 40 years, this car will still be around.
True.
It'll be a lot cheaper. It'll be pretty beat on.
How broken will all of that tech be is the real question.
This
Yeah.
is my question.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
cars, actually, if you take care of them, will last a long time. But this one, with all of its tech, because the build quality will be here. Look, we've got framed glass.
Yep.
It's so quiet. I mean, what
Yeah,
a novel
yeah.
concept. No more frameless windows. This will be around, and based on the build quality, I mean, honest materials, metal, and, some of the trim can have aluminum infused open pore wood. That will be around. And the rest of the car,
Yeah.
the electronics, will that still be working, or will it not work and not be able to drive just because it's so electronics heavy? So you want to buy it new. I'm asking.
This is the thing we
I think this will last longer than you would think.
yes.
I think it would surprise you, but 20 years on,
the
it'll
tech
be like,
is the question on our cheap sedan challenge. And I had a 2004 Volkswagen Phaeton, and it was 16 years old. And that was the
Gulp.
big question, is because everything was tied to old technology.
Right.
That was the thing that made this car the scariest. It wasn't all of the mechanics.
the car drove well.
It drove well.
felt great. You got the suspension fixed, and it was a great car.
I mean, it was a $5,000 Phaeton. Stuff went wrong. But that is a big question, because that car definitely showed us firsthand the reason that these executive cars don't have a second buyer. There's nobody waiting around to pick these up because they're worried about all the tech, in spite of the fact I would buy this a few years used. This is so brilliant.
And when you do, you're going to have to throw these into the wash, these little poofy
Or
suede
throw them out.
headlights.
I'm terrified to know how these get cleaned.
That's just going to be
I don't know what
some-
kind of hair products are in that.
hair
That's
grease
terrifying.
on
yes,
that.
for sure. You ready to drive?
I think. This is nice.
See, because I'm ready to sit. That's why.
Okay, I'll drive. How long that door is. Wow. That sky can.
Ooh, legroom.
Ooh, oh, the 3D is so good.
The 3D is awesome.
It's so good. It is better here than here.
Isn't it crazy? I'm bummed to not have massage back here, by the way. But
I
anyway,
know.
if
Aren't
I had
you
to make a
upset?
request, that's something I'd make a request for. But okay.
The S-Class is not known as a driver's car. Ooh, even turning the steering wheel just a little bit, I get poked in the ribs.
Yep.
That's so great. So you've got all these modes, and right in the lower left corner here is a haptic dynamic button.
Of course, it's haptic.
Oh,
Because real buttons, those are wrong.
shoved
now.
in the ribs.
Here we go.
Here we go. That's full throttle.
It's a lot of power.
That is just fun.
And uphill, too.
That is just fun. And there's a
Yes.
Triple
That's
nickel.
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
dude.
Yes, I know.
Dude.
Not much effort has to be made.
Oh.
And, I mean, you started from a dig there, too. And that is
Yeah,
just
that was
a
in
lot
the
of power.
hole.
Yeah.
But in this Sport Plus mode, I have decided that I understand what this drives like now. Because there's zero feedback here. It's designed to isolate you completely.
Does not want to bother you with it.
Aromatic suspension, so it floats, and then with that E-active body control, that actually is the feature that has the curve inclination, that 3-degree curve
It
thing
leans,
that it does.
leans away from what it's doing to fight off the body roll. Yeah, very true.
So even though this car doesn't have that, when you're going through tight sweepers like you would in a GT car or a sports car,
Yep.
in Sport Plus, it does all the things that a sports car will do without telling you, without telegraphing any motion. It's a complete surprise because you think big sedan, heavy car, I lean in, and then it does the exact thing a sports car would do without any drama, any telegraphing or any foreshadowing of that motion.
You're right.
It doesn't tell you anything through the steering wheel, and suddenly you will find yourself going 85 through a tight sweeper going, kind of bored. I'm hungry. Oh, 85.
Yes.
Wow.
It
This car's
completely
amazing.
shields you from what you're doing. Absolutely
It's
it does. Yes.
unbelievable. And for that reason, it actually is fun. Even though it's not giving you feedback, but then
True.
you immediately forgive it because it's an S-Class. So they've put refinement in every single area of the car. You name it.
Yep.
The coefficient of drag is 0.22.
Uh-huh.
The EQS, the electric S-Class,
Which brags
is
the best
0.20.
coefficient. It's the best coefficient of drag ever
Yeah.
is what they're bragging.
This is the
This is
normal
down there.
old
Yeah.
S-Class.
Totally.
Not old, but
Yes.
0.22.
Yep.
They have refined the styling. And to do that, they have designed the door handles that suck in, or they just pop out like the Teslas.
Yeah, they looked at Tesla and went, we should do that. They did. That's-
But they've done it in their Mercedes.
Absolutely
very
they did,
Mercedes
yes.
way. And it's brilliant. So
Mm-hmm.
they have thought about every single area of this car, not to make a feature, but to refine all the things that they know how to do. That's what's so amazing. On most off-ramps, you can start from the time you exited the freeway to the time you have to stop at the light, and you can probably hit 100 every time. On-ramp, off-ramp, doesn't matter. You want to just squeeze it in and get your fun for the day?
There's no effort.
You can. Okay, we're just going to go around the corner kind of fast because let the all-wheel drive sort it out. And we're on winter tires.
And the rear steer, yeah, the whole thing.
Holy, that's
a lot
fast.
of speed. It's a lot of speed. Yeah.
That's just so fun. And the sound.
Yeah.
Electric cars don't do this
No.
unless it's electronic, and this is natural. It's so good. I like this car a lot, but it's not for us. It's not for you. It's not for me.
No,
I
no.
wouldn't own this car.
But this proves that thing that Mercedes has been doing forever, and that is if you're shopping in this area, Mercedes sets the benchmark and everybody else kind of lines up behind it.
Yes.
That is absolutely where this is.
Lexus
in spite
is
of,
second
in
after
spite,
this.
in spite of my issues with some of the interior choices as far as design is concerned, I think, man, what a place to be. Back here or up there. That's the other thing that's a victory, is either place. I'm super happy.
This is awesome. I like driving it. I like being here.
I agree. What's going to happen is that, when you normally are in your big, luxurious whatever it is, and you get to a place where there's corners or the freeway takes a surprise turn or you wind up on a somewhat fun back road, you go, I got to slow this way down because this is a big, big car. But that's the thing. You don't have to here.
You don't have to.
It's not going to give you any kind of engaging feedback, but it can stay at whatever speed you would ever want to take that road in this big monster.
Let's use some gas. Listen to that.
At 9 speed is so quick.
It's so good. Jeez.
No one
isn't
is
even the
ready
AMG.
for this car to be as fast as it is.
That Leaf was not ready for this car.
No. When I was driving it, I found that too. Nobody expects this big executive sedan to be anything close to as fast as it is. It is very, very quick. It actually has a bigger trunk than last time. In fact, all of the space in this car is just a little bit increased from last time, which is very interesting. And they still brought the coefficient of drag down, and they still gave you all this tech. It's a success for sure.
Yep. I'm ready to buy. Where do I buy? Where do I sign?
I'd still buy this over the EQS.
Oh, I forgot to mention the whole trunk is full of poofs.
They come in a can like Pringles, except the can's about that big around. Pop a can of poofs.